Welcome to the question of the day. Today's question is from Lamar in Colorado. Lamar says, I work in HVAC sales. How many options should I be presenting? Great question. Strategically, there's a sweet spot that you want to fall into. I'm going to get into that. And at the end of this, I actually have a controversial point of view. So I'm going to say something controversial. Stick around till the end. So, strategically, yes, there's a sweet spot that you want to fall into in the number of options that you have. The risks you have is if you have too few options, you make it very salesy. You turn it into a yes or a no. Like if you have one option, that's the only way you can go, yes or no. And even like two options, like it's still kind of a yes or no. It's better than one option, but it's more salesy. Do it or don't. Too many options on the other end of the spectrum creates confusion. You get analysis paralysis because there's too many options, too many things to look at. I had a vendor that I met with yesterday, and they had their particular product, and it was a great product, but then the way their pricing was laid out, it was so complicated. I can't figure out if it's a good price or a worse price. Like I can't figure out what the price is because it's too complicated. And so same thing with our options. If we have too many options and too many variables, you get analysis paralysis, and a confused mind is going to say no. You're going to pump the brakes and not make a decision. So you don't want to have too few, you don't want to have too many. You want to end up in that sweet spot right in the middle. So the sweet spot that I've seen in the field is four options. That tends to be the sweet spot. Now, I've seen studies that say like 4 to 6, but honestly, I don't see too many sales professionals go to 6 options, maybe 5 sometimes. 6 seems to be you're getting into that analysis paralysis territory. I've seen a lot of professionals do 3, and I don't think 3 is the worst thing in the world. I just think 4 is better. 3 is obviously better than 2 or 1, but and you hear often the good, better, best. I think 4 is like the sweet spot. It seems to be for most customers in most situations, it's enough that it allows them to choose and be buying rather than being sold to, but it's not so confusing that they get analysis paralysis. So 4 seems to be the sweet spot. So here's how those 4 are designed. So there's a formula that you follow when you're designing these 4 options. So you have to have a top option, that option that you're leading with, that option that has all the things. It has the best item you're selling, and it has all the things that go with it. Honestly, this shouldn't sell too often. Not too many customers are going with the absolute best with all of the things, but you want to make sure your customer knows what all of their options are. Your customer does deserve to see this option. Even if they say, I don't want to see this option, even if they say, I'm not buying all the things, that's great. They don't have to, but they deserve to see it at least. And no, you're not going to sell a lot of them, but they deserve to see it. Shame on you if you're making that decision for your customer and not even showing them that option. Because I've seen a number of scenarios where one customer will make a purchase and feel fine about it until their friend or family member makes a purchase from the same company and they get things that the first customer didn't even know about. And so shame on you if you're making decisions for your customer. There should at least be a top option that has the best with all the things, the top option. And when I say all the things, I don't mean literally every accessory you sell. I mean like the 6 accessories that make sense to most customers in most situations, right? So not literally everything, but all the things that make sense to most customers in most situations. So that's your top option. You have your top option. Now I'm going to jump all the way to the other end here, the bottom, the last option you would show, because this kind of bookends it. So we had the top option with all the things. The bottom option is the opposite of that. It's None of the things. It is the most very basic thing you're selling with no accessories with it, no additionals. It just satisfies the need. This should be your price leader. Like if somebody wants to do, in this case, we're talking about HVAC. If somebody wants to replace their HVAC, this should be the system, nothing that goes with it. This would be the cheapest that you're going to get out of here from our company, right? Um, the most affordable option with none of the things. The equivalent of this would be like in car sales, you often see the price leader. So if you go to a a car dealership's website, and they'll have advertisements on there. They will have a price leader. Like if you're looking at Subaru Outbacks, there's one Subaru Outback that is the price leader, the cheapest Subaru Outback you can get. And you could literally go to the dealership and buy that one. It does exist, but that's the one that doesn't have the leather seats, doesn't have the moonroof. Like it's the very basic price leader. That's what it is. But you could get a Subaru Outback for that. Same thing here. So that bottom option is you could get the thing, whatever the thing is you're selling, in this case, HVAC. You could get heating and cooling for this price. No accessories, no other comfort features, no other efficiency features. But that's that price leader. So I got the top, all the things, bottom, none of the things. And then in the middle, I got two options that are spaced out, spaced in between that top and bottom based on what the customer had told me. So in my process, I ask great open-ended questions. I have an idea what the customer needs, what the customer wants, and based on that, I have two custom options in the middle that satisfy those needs of the customer. And I want to spread these out. So when I present these, I want to go from the top to the bottom. I want to go top down, and I want to spread these out evenly. And what I mean by that is, let's say, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, but let's say that top option costs $26,000. And let's say the bottom option costs $12,000. So I have a range here, 26 to 12. I probably want those two options in the middle to be like 20,000 and 14,000, so that I have a nice spread here depending on the customer's budget and what they need and what they want, that would go top option 26,000, second option would be 20,000, third option would be 14,000, and the last option, that price leader, would be 12,000. So the reason I want to go top down is because I want to start by it's easy to start by showing the customer all the things and then just to remove those things as we go. So you start with everything and then remove. It's a simple way to present that customers understand, they can follow. We're not looking at four completely different options here, but it's like you're starting with one and then minus this, minus this, minus this. Now, I have seen salespeople start with the bottom and build up, but I would start top down for psychological reasons. We are wired that it makes more of an effect on us if things are taken away rather than gained. And so when we start with the top and we take away, that has more of an effect, especially if we're building accessories into these options, accessories that I wanted. So if I wanted humidity control in my home, in an HVAC example, and I have that in one option, and then I go down to the next option and it doesn't have it, that made it a better price, but it doesn't have the thing I wanted. And now I go, ugh, I wanted that thing, right? That's why when you go to a car dealership, again, a great example. You go to a car dealership, walk around the show floor. They have the fully loaded models on the show floor because that's the one you're going to sit in. You're going to sit in there. You're going to feel that leather. You're going to feel the massaging chair, the heated steering wheel. Like you're going to feel all those things. And then when you get in that base model price leader, it's going to be like, man, this thing stinks. I want the heated steering wheel back, right? And so it's because things were taken away from us rather than given to us. And so every study I've seen shows starting top and working your way down is a great way to present to customers. It's simple, they can follow it real easy, and it creates more of an impact on customers. And so you want to go top down. So here's things I often hear when I talk about the four options. One of the things I often hear is I can't make that many options. Like we just don't have enough options within us to make those options for a customer. I assure you, you do. You do. You just have to get creative. There's companies, and in this case we're talking about HVAC. There's companies that build this on one system, like just one system. That's it. So all four of their options are the exact same system. And then based on the accessories, you're getting four different options. So they'll have one system with all the things, one system with less things, one system with less things. And then that last option is just the system with like no things, right? Even in like mobile home type examples where you don't have a lot of um, heating and cooling options, you can still do this. You can still build four options. You just have to get creative. You have to know what your accessories are and then be able to build those and spread them out. Are there examples that are probably a little tighter in spread than the one I just walked through? Yeah. I mean, it could be tighter, but you still want to create four options to help your customer buy. It is fair to give them options so that they can choose and make a decision rather than me ramming an option down their throat. So I assure you, you can do this. When I go do an on-site visit with a company, this is something that comes up very often that we just don't know our accessories real well or how to build these into the packages. But every on-site visit I've ever done, we've worked through that and we're able to build four options in almost every scenario, 99% of the time. Could there be the 1% that we can't? Possibly, but 99% of the time you can. Um, so now when I have these four options, what I want to do is I want to present them individually. And I want each option to stand out on its own because I want the customer to focus on that one solution. My job as a salesperson is to make this as simple as possible. No resistance, no complicated thinking on the customer's part. I always compare it to a water slide. A good sales process is like a water slide. From the customer's perspective, it takes no effort to start, no effort to get through the corners, and you end up in the same place every time. And same thing here. I want to do one option at a time because I'm making it as simple as possible. I want them to focus on that one option so that they truly understand what it is. And so when I'm presenting one option, it also creates a scenario where I don't have to hard close this. I don't have to be Mr. Salesy and close doors and force my customer into a sale. I walk through the option and then I ask them two questions. I just ask them, what do you like about this option? And what don't you like about this option? And they're going to give me feedback. I didn't ask them to buy it. I didn't hard close it. I just asked them, what do they like? And what don't they like? I'm now helping them buy. Remember, our mindset here is not to fix it, not to sell it. My mindset is to help them. And that's how I do that. What do you like about this option? What don't you like about this option? But I have to go through the options one at a time to do that. Now, I've seen salespeople get cute where they like take a sheet of paper and cover up the other options, but in my opinion, that just looks silly. And the customers know there's other options, so then they're just like, get out of the way. Let me see. Um, but what I want to do is respectfully focus their attention on one, not look like I'm hiding something here by covering it all up. Just go through one at a time. And if a customer does ask me to see all the options, great. Yeah, I'll just put them all out there then. Okay. But I'm still going to walk through them one at a time. And I'm going to ask that question. What do you like about this one? What don't you like about that? So then, based on those questions, when we find the right one, that's when I'll ask for the sale. And sometimes I don't even have to go through all of the options. I never tell a customer how many options we're going to go through. I don't want to like pigeonhole myself into how many options I have to show. I always say we're going to look at a number of options. That way I'm not committed to four or six or three or whatever. I say we're going to look at a number of options. Okay. So let's say I get to option two and I say, what do you like about this option? And they say, everything. That's the one that like has everything I want, right? And then I flip it and I say, well, what don't you like about this option? And they go, nothing. Nothing I don't like. Well, it sounds like we found the perfect option then, right? Like they just said, I like everything about this one. There's nothing I don't like about it. Why would I even introduce the next two options? Why complicate it any further? They said, I like this option. It fits everything I need. There's nothing I don't like. Just ask for the sale then. Just say, is this the one you want us to install for you tomorrow then? And they'll probably say yes. And if I'm going through them individually, there's no need to show the other options. And that's not sleazy in any way because they just told me I like everything about this one. Nothing I don't like. Customer is satisfied. Customer's happy. You're happy. Company's happy. Everybody's happy. This is that win 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 that we strive for. All right. So it's time to get controversial. Four options is the answer to your question. But now I'm going to say something controversial and probably make me sound old. And my wife picks on me that I'm old all the time. And I'll give you a couple examples. I have shirts that my wife goes, you look like an old man in that shirt. Why do you buy those shirts? And there's scenarios where we'll be at like the airport or something, and we'll see some old dude walking around the airport and he's got like the same shirt on that I have on. So there's maybe some truth in that. Uh, Spotify, at the end of the year, you know how Spotify gives you your recap at the end of the year? Well, uh, they did this thing this year called your listener's age, and it's based off of the music. And I like some old music. I like lots of different genres of music, but I really like some old country, some Hank Williams, right? And this year, Spotify said my listener's age was 90. And my wife thought that was the funniest thing ever. So I'm going to say something controversial, but it's also going to make me sound really old, but I stand by it. It's absolutely true and it works. And that's why I stand by it. Your options should be handwritten. They should be handwritten. I know we live in a digital age. I am actually a digital guy. I like sleek things. I like digital. I'm pretty techy. When it comes to options though, they should be handwritten. And the reason I say handwritten is because everything I see proves it gets a higher closing percentage. And I go with the data. So it's not what I believe, it's what the data says. In God we trust. Everybody else bring data. And the data that I see says handwritten has a higher closing percentage. Now, does that mean that there's nobody out there that presents digitally that is good at sales? No, I see lots of great salespeople that present digitally. And honestly, if they're doing that, there's a company I work with in Wisconsin. I harped on them for years to go to handwritten, but honestly, they're crushing it. And at some point, I gave up. Like, you guys are crushing it. You're doing really well. Like, unless you're doing something illegal or unethical, like who am I to tell you, right? Like, so there is exceptions to the rule. But overall, I'm speaking overall. When you look overall in the industry, handwritten options close at a higher rate. And I've seen this over and over and over. So in my career, many years ago, I created an objection boot camp. And that really became the feather in my cap. If I had to say like one thing I'm really good at, it's presentation and objections. That is my bread and butter. That is where I spend most of my time with customers. And I'm very effective at coaching and training teams in that area. And so because of that, I've done hundreds, maybe over 1,000 different companies in regards to presentation and overcoming objections. And I've done this in multiple industries. And I've rolled different softwares and coached and trained to different softwares. And I've never seen a software outperform handwritten presentations. We even took a company one time, a large company, and we split their team evenly. So we had 5 salespeople on each team. And we split them based on performance so that we had like almost exact closing percentage, almost exact average sale of each team. And we told them what we're trying to accomplish here. We were testing handwritten options versus digital presentations. And we said, we want you, each 5 on each team, we want you to go all in on this. We want you to prove this. We want you to do this to the best of your ability. And so we did this. The handwritten presentation closed 7% higher. 7% higher. That's a big difference when you're thinking about how many calls you run in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, in a lifetime. That's a big difference. And so I would go handwritten. The data says go handwritten. Now, in addition to this, some of the other reasons I would say is handwritten. Handwritten, super simple. You can make it super simple. And that's what customers want. They want super simple. Are there engineers out there that want it very detailed? Yes. But you can go from simple to detailed very easily. I can't go from detailed to simple. If I start out detailed, which is what a lot of software is, it's a lot of part numbers and accessories and words and like it's very detailed. And makes your customers feel stupid. The customers that want it simple, which is most of them, they feel stupid. And I can't take that away now. But if I start simple, they feel good about this. They feel like this guy gets me. He's explaining it so I can understand it. And if I do run into that engineer, great. Step up for them. Whatever. Whip out your software then and get detailed. Go through part numbers, nerds. But I can do that with them, but I can't do it the other way. So it's super simple, which is what I want it to be. It's genuine. I wrote this specifically for them. Now, it may be, I might write the same thing for every single customer, but the perception is I wrote this specifically for you. It wasn't just spit out by a software. So it has a human element to it. People want a human element. It's customized. I can customize it very easily, right? Whereas I may have parameters of the system if I'm doing this digitally, I can just customize it when I'm handwriting. And especially with closing, there's very effective closing techniques where if I get to a point where the customer says, I love that option. I love everything about that option, except I don't want that thing on the option. How effective is it for me to take my pen, cross it out, minus that, and then just say, okay, so that's the option you want then. And they go, yeah. Rather than me have to go back in and rebuild the option and then like 2 minutes later flip it around and say, so that's the option. No, I just cross it out. How dramatic is that? Cross it out. Minus, adjust that price. So this is the option. Yes, that's the option I want. Great, let's go. That's much more exciting, much more effective. It also can't be used to sell against you. So when you're doing this handwritten option, you use very general, vague language. If I'm talking about HVAC here, I would say highest efficiency system, humidity control. What is that? I don't know what brand that, like, now I do know because it's in my system. I have a system that has that. I have a price book that has that. The customer knows what brand they're getting, but that sheet doesn't say it. And that way, if I end up leaving my quote there and somebody tries to sell against me, what are they going to sell against? Highest efficiency system. What does that mean? Which one is that? Are we comparing apples to apples pricing here? Who knows? So it's also simple language for the customer. They get it. Oh, the best, the best system, the highest efficiency. Okay, the high efficiency. Okay, that's not the highest, that's high. The standard efficiency. Okay, that's the basic, right? So people get that. They get that language, they get that simplicity, and you can't sell against it. So it protects you against your competitors as well. And then there's marketing studies. I remember years ago, I worked with some marketing coaches and I had this idea for digital business cards. We're going to do digital business cards. And they all hated me for it. They said that's the dumbest thing ever. And I asked why. And they showed me all these studies of how, like, business cards, like actual business cards, create an impression. And most people, yes, throw them away. But holding it, feeling it, it makes an impression, whereas digital doesn't. It's just like money, too. Money makes an impression, right? How much more does it hurt when you have to take your wallet out and literally hand over the cash than just swipe the card? Swiping the card doesn't feel anything, okay? Handwritten option is more personal. You feel something rather than a very sterile digital presentation. So this is not huge leaps and bounds, but this is the difference between good and great. So handwritten options, that's my controversial old man statement. So here's some pushback that I get from salespeople. Some pushback that I get on the 4 options or they're handwritten. It seems dated. Okay, that's all in your head. I guarantee it. If you just handwrite the options and commit to it, very few people are gonna feel like it's dated. Your super techie engineer guy, he's going to feel like it is. We're talking about one, two, three people out of 100. Okay. I'm more interested in the other 97 people out of 100. Okay. So that's all in your head. It takes time. That's the pushback I get. Like, man, that takes a long time to write all that out. No, it doesn't. Okay. Most of this can be written ahead of time. Like as I'm walking in, I already know what my top option's probably going to be for this home. I already know what my bottom option. I could have those two written out. I already know kind of what my mid options might be. I could start to write those out, and then I just got to fill in the details. You could have most of this done before you even get to the customer's home, and it takes you 5 minutes. And in fact, I've seen some other tools. I was working with another vendor the other day where like they just take your price book and spit out the options. All I can do is copy that in very vague language. How long does it take to write out highest efficiency system? Accessory one, accessory two, accessory three, accessory four, total price, monthly price. Like, how long does it take to do that? It takes 5 minutes max if you're doing this right. Every time I see somebody taking too long to write handwritten options, it's because they're making it too complicated, too technical. Okay. They're writing things on there like coil, plug-in, line. As a customer, I assume all that stuff comes with it. I don't need to know every single part that comes on my car. I'm buying a car, right? I don't need to know every part. I just need to know highest efficiency system, accessory one, accessory two. Like, that's all I need. Okay. And the biggest one, here's the biggest one I get. Bad handwriting. My handwriting sucks. Or my team's handwriting sucks. Here's my answer to that. Suck it up, Buttercup. I teach my kids to slow down and write nice. You can do it too. So, great question. I go much deeper in the objection boot camp here. We spend a lot of time on this in the objection boot camp. Takeaway today, start using 4 handwritten options. 4 handwritten options. That's the question of the day. If you're enjoying the question of the day, follow, share, give a rating. Question of the day is on major streaming platforms. If you're not enjoying, keep it to yourself. You're probably not listening anymore anyways. If you have a question, reach out to me either on social media or email. Both are going to be listed below in the show description. Let's get that answered. And if you're a Nexstar member, schedule a call with me. Let's get this addressed one-on-one. I'm Coach Chris. We'll see you tomorrow.